I am Jason Wee. You are watching The Nation Diplomatic Dispatch, your window into the world of diplomacy and international affairs. Joining us in the studio is Professor Dr. KANAO FUKUDA, Deputy Dean for Liaison and Internationalization at Malaysia-Japan International Institute of Technology, UTM Kuala Lumpur. Today we look at how Malaysia and Japan are working together to shape the future of engineering talent, not just for today's jobs, but for tomorrow's economy. Professor Fukuda, welcome to the show. I want to kick us off with talking a bit about engineering talent and how it's becoming, and has always been, a strategic asset given the shift towards technology and sustainability in our economy. When we talk about Malaysia and Japan building the next generation of engineers, what does it actually mean in practical terms, especially for young people wanting to enter the workforce?
First, thank you very much for inviting me to this very nice session. I'm very happy to be here. And for your question, actually, it is about creating new values. And with that, we will strengthen our countries. That means Malaysia and Japan. That is the first objectives of our activities. Of course, we are in engineering education, so we will train new talent which can create new values for the society. That means value means something like increasing GDP of each country. For Malaysia and Japan, I believe they are a little bit different with each other. That means Malaysia can learn something from Japan about more scientific, technology-oriented product, and that is what Japan can contribute for Malaysia. And at the same time, Japan should learn something about multicultural society that can create new values in the world, and that is what Japan is not very good at. So that part Japan should learn something from Malaysia.
Thanks. Those are great answers. But I also want to focus a bit on skills and the industry, since they are changing way faster, given that we have education systems that are struggling to adapt to the industry. Tell me a bit about why is this Malaysia-Japan collaboration especially important now, at a time when job requirements are evolving so quickly and industries have to adapt, or more likely that education systems have to adapt to the industry?
Okay, maybe I cannot answer your question straightly because with my understanding, there are no changes about the relationship between Malaysia and Japan. As your previous Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir, mentioned in request policy, Malaysia and Japan are sharing same values as an Asian members. That is important basement. At the same time, as I have already talked about it, Japan and Malaysia has different strong parts. And that's why it's very important to collaborate with each other, helping each other. That means we are in, complementary relationship with each other. That is a good point, even in the society which is drastically, quickly changing.
And I think the strong relationship between Malaysia and Japan historically is well demonstrated by the strong presence of Japanese employers and companies in Malaysia, and has long been a major employer for the manufacturing and technology center. In your opinion, from what you see, what skills do Japanese employers in Malaysia actively look for in young engineers? Is it the soft skills that you previously mentioned, or is it something harder and more technical like automation or systems integration?
That is another difficult question for me to answer, because industry has diversity, from manufacturing until software development. Requirement for fresh graduate will be very different. So I cannot answer this question in one word. But my concern is, not only Japanese companies in Malaysia, but company people, industrial people tend to seek for instant result. That means their expectation for the achievement is very short eyesight. That means maybe we need to look into these kind of development with longer term planning.
And based on what you said, is there a skill or aspect or dimension of education that you think is the biggest gap in the engineering education industry right now, especially ones that have been developed out of the Malaysia-Japan relationship?
You mean gap between needs from the industrial side and what we can provide for us? Yeah. Actually, there is a gap, but with my understanding, it will be very difficult to fill this gap because, if we designed our curriculum for some specific company with specific purposes, that part, engineering part, will become very narrow and deep. And of course, it's time consuming to train these kind of talents. If we spend much time for that, that knowledge will be not useful for other students who will get a job in other industrial field. So what we should teach is more fundamental basic knowledge which can be applied for any kind of industries.
I want to focus in right on that, but we're going to go for a short break, and when we come back, we're going to focus on the gaps and really what the fundamental knowledge can contribute to an engineering economy. We're going to go for a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We are joined today by Professor Fukuda talking about the Malaysia-Japanese relationship in building a better engineering ecosystem. Now, Professor Fukuda, we were talking about the gap in the education sector, meeting the needs of the industry, and you've had experience in the private sector and are now an educator in a Malaysian university. I want to ask you, based on your experience, is there still a noticeable gap between what engineering graduates know and what employers actually expect from the job, especially when graduates enter the labor force?
From the viewpoint of the person, that means I myself, working for 20 years in the private section, actually, university education is not necessarily enough to cover all of advanced technologies which are practiced in the industries. And the industrial side also, they understand this point. That is why in Japanese companies, they educate fresh graduates after employing them.
And I want to also talk a bit about, what you mentioned when they enter the workforce, they need skills. When you mentioned in Malaysia, we have this spirit of multiculturalism, and as well as a general attitude when approaching jobs. Is this balance changing now compared to, say, 10 years ago, especially among Japanese employers in Malaysia?
Yeah, I don't believe it's changing. It's same as previous decades, I believe. And that balance, But the important part is, we need to provide education about not simple knowledge, but applicability of those kind of knowledges for solving new problems. And for that purpose, our institution employs adjunct professors from industrial side and ask them to review our curriculums, and we try our best to arrange our curriculum suitable for industries. We call it industry-oriented education.
When we speak about engineering, as you mentioned, industries can be quite varied, and there are a lot of industries. Are there specific industries that the Malaysia-Japanese Corporation is particularly benefiting, or industries that are seeing great benefit from these Malaysia-Japanese
benefit for what?
Benefit for either the economy or for the labor sector?
Actually, we have many relationships with, especially with Japanese companies, and we are collaborating together, but not specific. sometimes they are interested in some particular technologies we are developing in MJIIT, and we start collaboration with that. And with that, finally they employed our graduates, and they are very much satisfied with that result.
I mean, you're talking about Japanese employers employing Malaysian graduates.
Yes.
I want to speak a bit as well about young Malaysians increasingly looking beyond the domestic job market. Do you think Malaysian engineering graduates realistically have opportunities to work with Japanese companies, either in Malaysia or internationally, perhaps in Japan or perhaps in other geographies?
Yeah, it's very much positive. Actually, MJIIT had around 1,200 graduates at the moment. Yeah, because MJIT is a very young organization. It's only 15 years. We have around 1,200 graduates, and around 5% of graduates found a job in Japan.
Wow.
That means around 60 members are working in Japan. And they became a strong bridge between Malaysia and Japan. That means we have already started collaborative research activities with those companies, with our alumni in Japan.
Yeah, I mean, Japan, as we all know, for quite a number of years now, has been facing a shrinking engineering workforce given the demographic shift, especially at home. How do you think this is changing how Japanese companies are thinking about international talent, especially either hiring from Malaysia or hiring from the region?
You are right. As you know, the population of Japanese is shrinking, and especially young generation, the number of young generation getting smaller and smaller. But not only because of that, many Japanese companies are now very much interested in employing foreign young people, because they'd like to become more and more international, not only because of the shortage of young members. I'd like to highlight this part.
And I think one point of this is the increasing intersection of engineering between hardware, software, and sustainability as well. How is that factoring into thinking about talent dynamicism, hiring foreign talent, especially importing skills that we can learn from each other, be it from Japan firms hiring internationally or from Malaysia working with Japan?
Maybe you are talking about interdisciplinary part, and that is very important. Interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary viewpoints. Yeah, young talents hereafter should have such a kind of viewpoints. I agree with you. But at the same time, those kind of multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary activities should be based on deep understanding of each disciplinary. So we need to learn both of them.
And given this rise in what you would say as interdisciplinary understanding and knowledge, I want to put us looking ahead 5 to 10 years. Which sectors do you think are going to create the most amount of demand for engineering jobs, given the interweaving between hardware, software, interdisciplinary methods? It's hard sometimes to know. Perhaps it's really mechanical engineering and the hardware side that will grow, or perhaps what we've seen in the US, the burst and rise of software as a major economic driver. Where do you think the sector will grow in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, you have made another very difficult question to answer. Yeah, because, from history we can learn. Sometimes we suppose this industrial field has already done, no more expansion, no more future. But such a kind of field can be the flagship in next generation. It happened many times already. So it's difficult to say this particular field is very important and these are not necessary. It's difficult to say that. And it is said, something new becomes old very quickly. But all very old existing problems are unchanged. Still we need to tackle to solve historical, very old but important problems. Humans are material beings, So we cannot escape from material problems, food problem, energy problem, and environment problems. So of course, AI will play a very important role to bind these existing disciplinaries. But that's not all. We need both of them.
I mean, we are always attracted by the shiny new thing in the
Yes,
market,
yes.
but we cannot forget about the more fundamental first principle challenges that face us.
I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've been speaking a lot about what's going to happen and what possibly will happen in the 5 to 10 year future. We're going to go for a short break, and when we come back, Professor Fukuda, I really wanted to speak about more about the future and about the environment. We're going to go for a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We have been speaking with Professor Fukuda on the partnership between Malaysia and Japan for engineering development. And we were previously speaking a bit about the future. Now, Professor Fukuda, I want to focus in a bit about the environment. Now, we know that Japan is one of the foremost countries in developing engineering solutions around the climate, given its proximity to earthquakes and floods. How do you think the engineering partnership between Malaysia and Japan can support countries like Malaysia that's increasingly responding to climate-related challenges? We all know the floods that have been happening in Malaysia. Do you think these engineering partnerships can help and support cross-knowledge transfers?
Yeah, I believe it's very much positive. And not only, flooding and earthquake, Japan is suffered from, typhoons also. And actually, Japan has a very long history tackling with those kind of natural disasters utilizing engineering technology. I believe it's more than 500 years. We installed many advanced technologies to overcome the problems caused by natural disasters. With these experiences, we of course developed many technologies for preventing disasters or save people from those kind of dangers. And of course, and at the same time, let's say our institute established one center which called DPPC, Disaster Preparedness and Prevention Center, with the cooperation of Japanese University and Japanese National Laboratories. We try to install, I don't want to say learn it from Japan, but maybe we can collaborate with each other to overcome these kind of, enhancing disasters by climate changes.
And speaking on collaboration, you're the Deputy Dean at the Malaysia-Japan International Institute for Technology, or MJIIT. Can you share a bit with us about the successes that you've observed in your time at the Institute when cultivating technological transfer, especially for our young graduates thinking about entering engineering?
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to advertise MJIIT. Actually, it's not about disaster control only, but we have already established many good relationships with Japanese industries and Japanese universities also. We are supported by Japanese University Consortium. It has more than 30 universities under this organization. And one of the good success is we exchange students with these universities, and we share the knowledge, and we can have common objectives. That will be strengthen our relationships. That means relationship between Malaysia and Japan, not only industries.
And speaking about long-term partnerships, I mean, Malaysia and Japan, as previously mentioned, has had decades of long-term partnerships for impact. Before we end, how would you describe the Malaysia-Japan cooperation, and what do you think we should cooperate more on in the next 5 to 10 years to really think about the benefit of our future?
Oh, it's about our dream. Yes. But actually, because we are from Institute of Technology, my expectation is further collaboration in Malaysia and Japan in engineering field. At the same time, maybe if we can establish some new industries based on our collaboration, it's more than happy for me. Yeah.
All right, thank you. I mean, we've been really speaking about the Malaysia-Japan experience, how learning from each other can really benefit our engineering sector, and how each country stands to benefit, be it in the climate domain, be it in the economic domain, but really thinking about our future to come that we have collectively.
Yeah.
As the global economy evolves, the future will be built, by talent that can work across borders, cultures, and industries. Thank you so much, Professor Fukuda, for sharing how Malaysia-Japan Corporation is shaping that next generation. It's been such a pleasure having you. I'm Jason Wee. Thank you for staying with us. This has been the Nation Diplomatic Dispatch, your window into the world of diplomacy and international affairs. See you next time.